Ya estamos, Juan.
Okay, I think we're ready to start. Good afternoon and welcome to the second day of our series of webinars and talks about English language teaching as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the English Teacher Training College at Instituto Superior de Formación Docente número 22, Adolfo Alsina. We are thrilled to know that an interesting number of colleagues and teachers-to-be are joining us this week for continuous professional development. We say hello to those now with us on Zoom and to those joining us via our YouTube channel. As we said yesterday, there have been significant transformations in education over the past 5 decades, so much so that we need to keep on exploring ideas to be able to interpret the realities of teaching a foreign language in this day and age with the aim of supporting our students in their learning journey. Today, we will be discussing comprehensive sexuality education. We strongly believe that learning about the cognitive, emotional, physical, and social aspects of sexuality is of paramount importance in an age where confusing and conflicting messages permeate society. As stated by the UNESCO, not only does reliable information prepare children and young people for a safe, productive, and fulfilling life, but it also empowers them to make informed decisions about relationships and to navigate a world where gender-biased violence and gender inequality pose a risk to their well-being. To further explore this topic, we are very happy to be joined by two colleagues from Instituto Superior de Formación Docente número 129 from Junín in the province of Buenos Aires, Paola Cossu and Gabriela Brun. They have kindly accepted our invitation and we thank them very much for that. Gabriela Brun graduated as Profesora de Inglés from Instituto Superior de Formación Docente número 129 in 2005, and she holds a diplomatura in Feminism and Gender from Universidad de Buenos Aires and a diplomatura in Comprehensive Sexuality Education from Universidad de San Martín. Gabriela has been a teacher educator for 16 years now. She is currently teaching intercultural studies, academic English, and literature for children at Instituto Superior de Formación Docente 129. She was also the president of the local Teachers Association in Junín, where she organized events for continuous professional development. Paola Cossu graduated as Profesora de Inglés from Instituto Superior de Formación Docente 129. She is a licenciada in Lengua Inglesa from Universidad de Belgrano, and she holds diplomas in Comprehensive Sexuality Education from Universidad de San Martín and from Universidad de Santiago del Estero. Paola has been teaching English for 20 years now and has been a teacher educator for the last 10. She's also a facilitator in the Continuous Professional Development Program from the Ministry of Education in Buenos Aires Province and head of CIE, Centro de Información e Investigación Educativa General Viamonte. Both Paola and Gabriela have participated in congresses, delivered webinars and workshops on comprehensive sexuality education since 2019. They have also published in national and international journals. So now it's over to you, Paola and Gabriela.
Okay, thank you, Juan. Thank you. Okay, well, and thank you all for being here with us today. We are really, really happy to be here. Thanks for the invitation. And well, we'd like to say that we really value this space and we appreciate the opportunity of taking part in this celebration and also of being part of this amazing lineup of speakers. Well, my name is Paola. Paola Cossu, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
And my name is Gabriela Brun, and my pronouns are also she, her, and hers. As Juan Ignacio said before, we are both teachers of English, teacher educators, and comprehensive sexuality education advocates, okay? We are from Junín, which is a town in the northwest part of the Buenos Aires province. And as Juan said before too, we both teach at Instituto Superior Formado Docente 129. And now I'm going to change to Spanish for a little while to thank some people, yes? Queremos agradecer a Mauricio Madrea y Paula Sánchez, director y vicedirectora de la unidad académica del Instituto del 129, ¿sí? Por siempre acompañarnos y estar con nosotros y apoyarnos en nuestras iniciativas. Y también a nuestros y nuestras estudiantes de primer y segundo año de profesorado que están por ahí acompañándonos también. Gracias.
Okay, so let's see what we will be doing today, right? We will be presenting and discussing some core concepts related to comprehensive sexuality education, especially related to the CSE law, the national CSE law, and the legal landscape here in our country, Argentina. We'll be looking at some material that we use in our classes from a critical perspective. And we will be sharing some ideas to integrate CSE and language. Of course, all along, we will be reflecting upon the importance of dealing with CAE if we aim at a more inclusive and equitable society. And we will be asking you to participate in some very simple tasks, very simple activities. So please have some paper and pen or pencil handy so that you can actually do the tasks, all right? So let's get started. I think that all of us, or most of us here, know that the national CSE law was passed many years ago, right? More than 15 years ago, back in 2006. And you might also agree with us that these days, everybody talks about CSE. CSE is on everybody's lips, right? When we ask colleagues for ideas to incorporate CSE into our lessons, when we Google for ideas online, when the heads of the institutions where we work ask us whether we have a project on CSE or not, etc. But despite all this, even after 15 years, there are some people, some teachers who are still kind of uncomfortable or afraid of actually including CSE in their lessons. So we would very much like to invite you to tell us why you think is so, right? Why do you think that some people, some teachers of different subjects, right? Not necessarily teachers of English, right? Are still afraid or uncomfortable when it comes to CSE. If you want, you can open up your mics if you are not that shy, or if not, you can answer, right? Share your answers in the chat box. Why do you think some teachers are afraid of ESI or incorporating ESI? Cannot read the chat, so maybe you can, if there is somebody answering.
I will read, Pao, if somebody shares there.
All right. Or maybe the people who follow us on YouTube, maybe they can write their answers there. Okay. No answer?
Nothing yet, but come on. Why do you think some teachers
Yeah.
are afraid, or they feel uncomfortable or unsure? I have an answer here. They are afraid because they feel they do not know the right answer. Maybe they see it as a taboo. They don't know how to deal with it. Okay.
Yes.
Probably because most teachers still connect CSE with biological aspects.
Right. Yeah. Yes, this is a very complex question to answer. Of course, there might be many reasons why teachers are afraid of incorporating CSE, but there is something that we have noticed, and it's something that somebody has said. It's about the word sexuality, right? we have noticed that it's the word sexuality or the misconceptions of sexuality that we have that scares teachers the most. And that includes, of course, being afraid of not having the correct answers, etc. But it's the word sexuality that generally scares them the most. So let's start by defining sexuality. Let's take a look at everything that sexuality involves, right? According to the UN, that is the United Nations, and its different agencies, sexuality is defined as a fundamental aspect of human life. And as Juan said in the introduction, it has many dimensions, right? A cognitive dimension, a physical dimension, psychological dimension, cultural, political, spiritual, right? Many dimensions. It's not just biology, right? As somebody has answered in the chat box. Sexuality cannot be understood without reference to gender, and diversity is a key characteristic of sexuality. So it's very clear from this definition, that it's not our definition, it's a definition given by the UN, very clear that sexuality goes beyond biology. It goes beyond sex. It includes biology, but it's just not biology, right? It's much more than that. So now that we have defined sexuality, that we said it's the word that scares teachers the most sometimes, well, along with other words, let's see what we understand by comprehensive sexuality education in our country, because there are different countries who have this approach to sexuality, to education, but they don't call it the same way, right? And they don't have exactly the same approach. So let's see what we understand by comprehensive sexuality education in Argentina. And in order to do so, we need to resort to the official documents, right? In this case, we have the National Curricular Guidelines, o Lineamientos Curriculares de la ESI. They define ESI this way, right? Comprendemos a la ESI como un espacio sistemático de enseñanza y aprendizaje que promueve saberes y habilidades para la toma de decisiones conscientes y críticas, right? I will stop there for a second. So, espacio sistemático, what do we understand by this? It means that ESI, CSE, has to be planned in advance. It has to be worked systematically. It has to be sustained in time, and it has to be worked with in depth. It's not something that happens eventually from time to time when we have the ESI week, like in August, right? Or when the head asks us whether we have been working with CSE or not. Of course, there will be situations related to CSE, situations, for example, of violation of rights or bullying or discrimination, among others, that will emerge, that will come up in the institutions where we work. And of course, there couldn't be pedagogical silence there. We have to say something. We have to do something when that occurs. But apart from that, if we talk about this espacio sistemático, it means that CSE has to be planned and sustained in time. And when we talk about skills and knowledge, this knowledge that we are talking about is not opinion, it's not ideology, it's scientifically based information, right? CSE is facts-based. And when we speak of skills, well, one of the most important goals of the CSE program is to help our students to become critical thinkers, but not just critical thinkers, but critical citizens, right? Who participate, who become critical and can participate in a democratic society. And as thus, they will be able to take decisions about all these topics, right? El cuidado del propio cuerpo, las relaciones interpersonales, el ejercicio de los derechos y de la sexualidad. Los contenidos son abordados desde las distintas áreas y disciplinas e incluyen situaciones de la vida cotidiana presentes en las aulas y en nuestras escuelas. And this is what I said before, right? CSE will not only happen inside the English classroom, but it is everywhere. It goes beyond the walls of our classroom. It is everywhere, right? It's present also in the school organization and in school life in general, right? So in a nutshell, and this is very important, teachers, we must know this, CSC is age appropriate because the contents are thought of in relation to the cognitive development of our students, according to the age of our students, right? So it's age appropriate, it's rights-based, it's facts-based, because we're talking about scientifically accurate information. It is gender-focused, it's non-judgmental, and also gives us the opportunity to present sexuality from a positive approach, emphasizing values such as respect, inclusion, empathy, responsibility, right? Among many others. Now, Gabi will go on.
Okay, thank you, Pao. So, as Pao has just said, this law 26,150, was passed more than 15 years ago. Yes, and well, this law establishes the right of all students in all levels, okay, to receive comprehensive sexuality education in all educational institutions, okay, both private and state-run, okay, and this law incorporates this definition of sexuality that Pao has just described, okay? So the focus of comprehensive sexuality education here in Argentina is on empowering students to become active, critical citizens by providing them with tools to develop critical thinking, yes? So CSC, as Pao very well said, goes beyond a biological standpoint and includes a wider range of topics, yes, such as, for example, well, stereotypes, any kind stereotypes, LGBTQ plus visibility, family configurations, healthy relationships, gender violence, hegemonic beauty standards, changes in adolescence, and among many, many other, okay? There are more in the curricular, the national curricular guidelines or lineamientos curriculares that Pao mentioned in this document, okay? Which suggests possible topics and strategies on how to incorporate CSC into the different subjects at school, yes? However, there are no guidelines for English, okay? English is the only subject that does not appear in the lineamientos, but we have the opportunity to draw ideas, okay, from the suggestions for the other areas, for the other subjects. Yes, actually, we took these ideas from the suggestions for social sciences, for biology, for physical education, or language, okay? Well, Paul mentioned before, and we continue talking about the law, or laws, the legal landscape, yes? Before this law was passed in 2006, yes, there were already many, many national and international laws and conventions on which the CSC law in Argentina is based, okay? And in the same way, later, the ESI law or the CSC law in Argentina came to be enriched, okay, by many other laws which were passed after 2006, even after the national curricular guidelines were written, yes? And all these laws, advanced human rights, okay? We have included some of them. There are more than 20. Yes, for example, you have the law for the voluntary termination of pregnancy, which was passed at the end of 2020, or the gender identity law, which was passed in 2012, okay? There are many, many, many more, yes? I think it's also important to mention the role that feminist movements, such as Ni Una Menos, yes, and the campaign for decriminalization and legalization of abortion had in bringing CSC into the public eye, yes. all these public debates enter the school. Yes, and we as teachers cannot ignore them. We cannot turn a blind eye to those debates that maybe enter the school through the window. Yes, so these new laws that were passed after 2006, yes, and all these debates, yes, these public debates, open up doors for new content. Okay, so the idea is that we bring these laws, these rights into the class as content. Yes, because our students and we as teachers as well, yes, need to know our rights in order to be able to exercise them. Okay, and this takes me to a very important part of the comprehensive sexuality education program here in Argentina. Okay, we have the 5 axes, these 5 intertwined axes, yes, that guarantee that the topic that we choose to bring into the classroom, into the class as content, is addressed in a comprehensive way. Okay, here are the axes. They are in no particular order. Okay, now Pao will share a link with you so you can have access to more information about the axes, because this is just an overview, a summary. Okay, I'm going to share some words about each of them. So one of the axes that is to acknowledge gender perspective, of course, has to do with looking at the impact of gender has on our lives, on our opportunities, yes, and our social role. Yes, respecting diversity has to do with embracing differences through an intersectional lens. What does intersectional mean? Well, it means that the different social categories, yes, that shape our view of the world, like ethnicity, gender, socioeconomic positions, among others, yes, converge, intersect, yes, and this leads to some people simultaneously suffering different types of discrimination. Okay, and of course, if we approach diversity in the classroom, this means that we will be rejecting violence, okay, any sort of violence. Yeah, another axe is that of valuing affectivity. Okay, and this has to do, of course, with feelings, with emotions that exist in any sort of human social interaction, okay, with values as well, yes. But there is a special focus, a special emphasis on avoiding coercion. Coercion is when we try to force somebody else to do something that they don't want to do, yes. Then we have exercising our rights. We mentioned this before, Pao mentioned this, I mentioned this a minute ago. Yes, we need to understand that children and adolescents are subjects of rights, and they have the capacity to participate, to be heard, and not to be discriminated against. Okay, and of course, they need to learn their rights in order to exercise them. And finally, taking care of the body, which of course goes beyond biology. It's not about healthy habits only. Yes, this involves psychological, social, and cultural aspects of health. So mental health is also included here. Okay, and this is very important. And I think it is relevant here to mention that the WHO, the World Health Organization, defines health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. Okay, and not just the absence of disease. So it's a much more comprehensive view of health. Okay, so in practice, these axes overlap, yes, and we can work with one topic from the perspective of one or more axes. Yes, so please access the link Pao share with you when you have time, and read all the information you have there about the axes, because they are essential to plan a class to include essay. Okay, Pao?
All right, thank you, Gabi. Okay, so the second activity we have, first one really, to invite you to do, okay? It's your turn now to help us go on with the webinar. So let's see what we will be doing here, right? We will show you some images about a topic that all of us are familiar with. It's a topic that every teacher has taught, and it's a topic that every student has been taught, right? And when we are working with this topic, the images that we will share with you can be very easily found when we Google for ideas or when we visit some Facebook groups, teachers of English, right? Or well, when we Google for worksheets, right? So we will be showing you these images that we have selected because we think there is something wrong with them. And I think all of us here will agree on that, right? There is something wrong, something that doesn't quite look okay, right, with these images. So our question to you is what? What is it that you think is wrong with these images, right? So again, if you feel comfortable with it, open up the mic, or if not, we will read your answers in the chat box. Okay, so what is wrong? We agree there is something wrong here, right? So what is it? What is it that is wrong with these images?
Here, Gabriela says that they are stereotypes. Maybe, Gabriela, if you want, you can enlarge on that. There's no other types of family. Amparo says it's an hegemonic view of families and people. There are no varieties of families.
The images portray one type of family, one possibility.
Okay. I couldn't see who was talking, but yes. Come on, who else? Something else that you would like to share with us? Here's one more. Nuclear families. There's no diversity. Okay. Our students, Paola, answering.
Okay. Good. Fantastic.
Sorry,
You must be happy. That's interesting from Mora. You must be happy.
Can I share some ideas from YouTube? Because there are people
yes, of course, Juan.
Chatting on YouTube. Josefina says that conventional heteronormative families is what is wrong in these pictures. And Belen says that it shows stereotypes of elderly people.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you, Juan. Some middle-class families.
There's no diversity. There are so many traditional families. Okay.
Middle-class families. Okay, fantastic. Well, great. All of the answers are okay. So what we have been doing here, what you have been very well doing here, is questioning, troubling the concept of family. And you have been doing this by critically reading the images that, as some of you said, use one type of family that is supposed to be representative of all types of families. In the case of the last image there at the bottom, even though there is some diversity in terms of ethnicity, as regards the topic we are discussing, right, it still fails at representing family diversity. Sometimes course books, material in general, claim to be multicultural and diverse, but at the end of the day, they, well, precisely end up othering. Othering is a very interesting concept that basically means this perception that we have of a person or a group of people as fundamentally alien from another, frequently more powerful group, right? When this happens, when othering is present in the images, for example, that we bring into our lessons, our students feel that they don't belong there because they are not represented. One thing we would like to say is that, of course, that this traditional family, known as traditional family, is not wrong. I mean, there is nothing wrong with it. And the idea here is not to erase this family type, but rather to give students the possibility of seeing the diversity of families that exist and giving them the chance to see that there are other ways of being that are also legitimate, right? Dr. Joshua Pines has been writing a lot, right, about troubling normative discourses, about queer pedagogy, and he invites us to ask these questions ourselves, right, as teachers, but also he invites us to ask these questions to our students, right? when we are, for example, assessing a course book or dealing with a unit on family, as we have been discussing, right? Why is it that I only see straight nuclear families in this unit on relationships? Who benefits from this presentation of the world? Who is marginalized? Who is silenced? When we ask ourselves these questions, when we invite our students to try and answer these questions, that again, in this case, are related to family, but they can be about any other possible topic that you can imagine, what we are doing is restive problematizing. Restive problematizing is a term coined by Alastair Pennycook that basically means this, right? To constantly look at the world around us, asking ourselves these sort of questions, right? Why does this work this way? Whose voices do we hear the loudest and whose voices are silenced, right? And if we have been talking about images, who do we frequently see and who we don't see enough, right? So restive problematizing. Remember that, because we will be working with that later.
Yes, actually now, but I would like to read because they have continued to participate. Like I think they can be representing real families, but only a certain type of family with no diversity. And then Angela says, I remember that in Kindergarten they made a song talking about the diversity in families, like mama con mama, papa con papa. Okay, yes, very interesting. The images portray one type of family. It is a possibility, but the images show only one conception of family or women and men. Yes, all very interesting questions. And now we move on. It's time to work again. You will be working now, okay? But this time, this is in groups, okay? You will be working in small groups and sharing. Now, Pao is going to post a link. I don't know if you have posted it already. I will ask you, please, to open it now to see if you can all access it. Yes, and then you share a thumb up in the, or a yes, or an okay in the chat. Okay, so we all know that you can access the information. Yes. Tell me, please, if you can access it. Yes, great, excellent. So
the link is
this
also
is
on YouTube, right? The link is also
yes,
on YouTube.
the link.
Right?
Yes, now I'm going to say that. Yes, what you're going to do now, yes, is in the same way we analyzed the images of the different families. Yes, you will be also critically reading these images that you have just accessed through the link. Okay, together try to find whether they have something in common, or if you can group them according to a certain characteristic, or whether something calls your attention. You will see that each image has a number. Maybe you can use those numbers, yes, to group them, or whether you find something in common, you say, well, number 1, number 5, yeah, so it's easier for you to get organized. Remember, Paola told you at the beginning that you would need pen and paper. Yes, so this is a moment to take notes of what you discuss in the group, because then you will choose a spokesperson, yes, to share your findings, either through the chat box, okay, and or maybe you can open the microphone, okay. And well, those who are watching on YouTube, I think that the link is already there. You can also access it, and you can comment in there on YouTube. And we will also be sharing the images here, some of the images here, okay? So Juan, whenever you want, you can just
okay,
start the breakout rooms. You have between 5 and 7 minutes, okay? So don't take too long. Yes?
You're ready to go now?
Okay. accept the invitation to go to the breakout room, please. Okay, and for the people on YouTube, here are the images, okay? Some of the images. So again, see whether you can group them according to a certain characteristic, yes, or whether something calls your attention, or whether they have something in common. Take note, and then when we are all together again, we will be sharing your findings, so Juan can also read your comments, yes?
Good, good.
Yes, let's give people some thinking time.
People who are still here, if you want, you can join the groups so that you can help them think and restive problematize these images that we have shared with you.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Yeah. So the people who are still with us, if they
Oh,
want,
good.
they can join the groups so that they can help the others
Right, yeah.
problematize the images.
Sorry, I had missed that.
Nah, don't worry. And the people who are following us on YouTube can do the same, right? And then they can share their ideas, the comments there. Here we have some of the images. In the document, there are a couple more.
Yes, and for the people who are watching us on YouTube, maybe you have just joined the meeting, okay? So what you have to do here is to look at all these images taken from different course books, yes, English course books, and see whether you find they have something in common, if there's something wrong, if you notice they share a certain characteristic, okay? Think also about the course books you use to teach, okay, at school. And then, well, take notes of that. And in 2 or 3 minutes, we'll be coming back and we'll be sharing what it is that you have found. I don't know, Juan, what do you think? 1 more minute? Will that be enough?
Yeah, probably. Just
Okay.
1 more minute and then we can start.
Yes, I think it's going to be enough.
Good. I'm just checking if there's any comment on YouTube.
Great.
Not so far.
Okay, people on YouTube also be ready to write whatever you have found. Okay, I think
It's time.
enough time.
Ask them to come
Yeah,
back,
I
right?
think you
Okay. Okay, in a minute or so, they will be back. You know, it gives them 60 seconds.
okay,
again.
great, yes.
Funny, hi again. I'm having problems with my connection. I was in room 1.
Oh,
Can
you were
send me
kicked
back?
out.
Yeah, no, but I'm having
Everyone is
problems at
coming.
home.
Everyone is coming back to the main room now. So
Great. Well, so I'm
don't you
here.
worry.
Stay here.
Good.
Thanks.
Okay, ready then. Welcome back. Okay,
Are they all here now?
I guess so. I see a lot of people coming in,
Okay, great, great.
but I don't know,
Excellent.
Juani, are they here?
Yes, some of them are still, you know, about to come, I suppose, but
All right.
Okay,
I think most of
so
them have left the room.
let's see if they have chosen a spokesperson. Okay, if somebody wants to open the microphone, or well, maybe you can just, okay, there's a comment in the chat. Okay, Luca here says, the images show a variety of activities, wait, that can be carried out by everyone, regardless of gender, breaking stereotypes, including clothing stereotypes. I can also see different places, globalization comes to mind. Okay. What about students with disabilities? Yes, Cynthia, we're asking, we have the same question. What about students with disabilities? Good.
We also
What else? Come on.
the types of bodies that we see here are all able bodies, right? We don't see people with disabilities in these
Exactly.
images. Any other idea?
I can share some of the comments on YouTube, if that is okay with you.
Great, yes.
Belen is sharing comments about picture 4. There's a tendency to focus on the countries that are part of the inner circle, leaving aside other cultures. In picture 1, there are isolated exercises without a relevant context, she thinks. And in picture 6, football is associated to boys, while tennis and rollerblading is associated to girls. Then Josefina Ibarra shares that in picture number 9, according to her, it reflects the problem that was previously discussed, portraying a normative family.
I think we can still see stereotypes. Maria Luisa says, families, the dream houses and places to live. Dara says they all belong to urban families.
Exactly,
That's it.
yes.
Good. Right. Any other idea?
Maybe somebody wants to open the microphone. They are not really our context. Yes, Amparo.
I wanted to say that maybe there is not so many diversity, sorry.
Yes, you're right. There's not a lot of diversity. Good. Somebody else who would like to share something in the chat? I invite you to look at the picture where there's a big family here on the screen. Yes, there's a big family below. Can you see it? Yes, it's in color. Yeah, can you see grandma and grandpa? Have you ever seen elderly people in another role that is not as a grandma or as a grandpa in course books? Have you ever seen them
No,
doing
look.
something else than being
And not
grandparents?
having white hair and glasses and
Exactly.
knitting
Okay.
and being surrounded by children?
Exactly. Yes, they are grandchildren.
Grandchildren,
Yes.
right.
Mm-hmm. Do you know how to call that type of stereotyping or discrimination? Any idea how you call it? And it works also with children, okay? Not only with elderly people. Ageism, yes. Angel, ageism. Yes, this is the stereotyping and discrimination against individuals or their groups based on their age. Yes, you will see elderly people being grandparents. Everything in their life revolves around their grandchildren. We don't see, for example, I don't have children, I don't want to have children, so therefore I will not have grandchildren. I will never see myself
in a course book.
Okay, as an elderly person. I will never be there, okay? Here Camila says, it is extremely necessary to teach that there is no correct family model. Yes, Camila, you're right. Mm-hmm. Any other comment that you would like to make?
Let's go
What
on
about
discussing
the activities presented?
Yes.
In the first picture here? Sally can ride a scooter. Somebody mentioned disabled children or students. What do you know the name for that kind of discrimination? Any idea? Here, ableism. Yes, Angel, that is ableism. Mm-hmm. That is discrimination against individuals with disabilities, okay? And of course, there's a lot of stereotyping as well. Many books, many course books tend to present disabled people as inspirational. Okay, that's the only role they have. They are our inspiration. And we never get to see them doing everyday things like going to the supermarket or practicing sports, but not competing for the Olympics, okay? Because we see them, exactly, we see them as inspirations. That's how they are presented in course books, but we don't see them in every, I don't know, washing their teeth, okay? Or I don't know, any other typical everyday activity, okay?
Mora says some images have binary perspectives. Yes, there is
definitely, yes,
heteronormativity all around here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Heterosexual definitely. White people, right?
There is only one age for certain things, mm-hmm. like having fun. If you have fun because you're young, yes. And have you paid attention to houses and schools? Okay. Are the schools you have attended or where you teach like that?
With lockers?
Not in my case, at least. Okay, not in my case. Yes. Okay, any other comment or we continue? Does somebody want to share something else that you have noticed? Considering students' feelings, maybe some of them cannot travel. Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Not everybody can afford to travel to Greece, for example. The same holds true for the houses, right? Not all of our students can imagine themselves living here, right? In these houses as dream houses, right? That they can have in the future. Not my students.
Exactly. Sorry, Pao, sorry.
No, okay.
Yes, typical American stereotypes. When we say, I'm a big defender of using the word US. Okay, I'm not American because I'm also American. You are also American, yes. Typical US stereotypes. Yes, you're right. American houses. Yes, you're right. What about picture 5? Not every child has the possibility of having it. Yes, of course, of having a tablet, a phone.
Exactly.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
When we work with hobbies and free time activities, we tend to bring these kind of images, right? And again, not all of our students actually have free time because many of them work, right? And well, not many of them have the opportunity of actually doing these this type of activities in their free time, whenever they have free time, right? Good. Well, fantastic ideas here. They have been rested problematizing a lot.
Yes. Okay, so as Pao has just said, what you have done here, okay, is to look at these course book, well, images from course books through a critical lens, okay? And you have discovered this lack of inclusion and diversity, okay? Course books are usually quite standard, yes, and they do not present or they do not include different voices or a variety of narratives, yes? They usually show Western, white, male, and middle class narratives. Yes, as Dr. Gray states, some groups such as, well, LGBTQ communities, the working class, or the disabled, yes, have been systematically erased from textbooks, okay? And I will show you now a list. These are the most under or misrepresented groups in course books, in popular course books, okay? We took this information from Raise Up, which is a project which was started by two teachers, by Ila and James, yes, who, well, they were worried about this lack of inclusion and diversity, so they decided to create their own books. Yes, now Pao is going to share the link to their blog, okay, and you can see some of the units in their books there. And when I say misrepresented, because it's underrepresented and misrepresented, when I say misrepresented, I mean that they are not properly represented, or that their representation is misleading, okay? Like, for example, when we only see Latinas as maids in US sitcoms, okay, that is a misleading representation or a misrepresentation of Latinx people, yes? Sometimes these groups are mentioned. They do appear in course books, right? But it's a tokenistic mentioning, okay? What does tokenism mean? It means that, well, the people in charge of making these course books have decided to include these groups only to show that, well, they are following the rules, or they are doing what is expected, or what is seen to be fair, okay? But not because they really believe it is the right thing to do, okay? So there is a tokenistic mentioning of these groups, and we have to be careful as well when we bring our own material. Yes, we need to avoid being tokenistic ourselves, okay? So whenever you're assessing your teaching material, use this critical lens, okay, and see if the material represents a wide range of voices, okay? You can always substitute, include other text, other images, videos, any other material, resources, activities that will show different voices and perspectives, okay? And, well, sometimes we don't get the chance to choose the material, or we are not allowed to make changes, yes? And this is a great opportunity to foster students' critical thinking skills, okay? We can ask them why these different perspectives have not been included in the course book, okay? In this way, you will be guiding your students to become restive problematizers, okay? You are giving them the tools to become critical of all normative discourses, yes? Which is, as Paul said before, one of the aims of comprehensive sexuality education, okay?
All right, well, I don't know if we have much time left, but we would very much like to share with you some ideas that we have to integrate linguistic content, that is English, with CSE content, right? And going on problematizing some of the material we usually use in class to teach some language, right? For example, body parts. That is, again, another topic that most of us have taught or have been taught, especially in primary school, right? So we have been working with problematizing concepts, restive problematizing some topics. So what we will be doing here is showing you another way of problematizing this topic, but through ideas for tasks that integrate CSC and language, all right? One possible way of doing so is working with a very important topic that is body boundaries and consent, right? Working with body boundaries and consent is of the utmost importance, and we will see why in a moment, right? One way you can bring this topic into your lessons is through, for example, a cartoon. Here we have a cartoon by Lunar Baboon. We strongly suggest to visit his social media accounts because his cartoons are great. Hi, my sweet baby girl, give your daddy a kiss. No, she says. Perfect, you nailed it. Who's the boss of their body? So, body boundaries and consent together with language. Why body boundaries? Well, for many reasons, and consent, right? For many reasons. But above all, to help prevent child sexual abuse in a non-threatening way. Remember when we discussed what CSC was at the beginning of the presentation? I told you that CSC is age appropriate. In this case, we will be addressing somehow sexual abuse, but not straight away, right? We will be dealing with this in a non-threatening manner because we will not be talking about sexual abuse explicitly, right? CSC is rights-based, we said, and in this case, we are helping our students to exercise a right. And we said that CSC is facts-based. And for that, we have some figures to share with you that tell us why they are top priority. These are statistics that the government has provided, right? These are statistics taken from 137, that is the number you can phone in case of abuse, and that you can even teach your students, right? Let's have a look at the statistics. Who are the abusers? This is Argentina, right? This is our country. Who are the abusers? In 75% of the cases, the abuser is a family member. Of that 75%, 40% is the father. The abuser is the father. And in 16% of the cases, the abuser is the stepfather. In terms of the age of the victim, let's have a look at this. In the majority of cases, 47, it's unbelievable. Yes, Claudia, but it's real. In 47% of the cases, the victims are between 6 and 12. In 28% of the cases, they are between 0 and 5 years of age. And in 25% of the cases, they are between 13 and 17 years of age. Shocking, but real, right? So coming back to my question, why body boundaries and consent? Well, because of this, right? It should be a priority topic. And now we will share with you very quickly, right, some ideas to bring this content in a non-threatening way, right, into our lessons.
Yes, so because of everything Pao has just explained, yes, we need to bring this topic into the class, and we will be working with body parts, of course, but from a different perspective. And well, the tasks we are going to share are suitable for students with a beginner or elementary level, but they can be adapted, okay? So we will go from body parts to my body belongs to me, yes? As Pao said before, we have all taught or been taught parts of the body, yes? But we don't teach certain parts of the body. Have you thought about that? Okay, we teach the hair, the arm, the leg, the feet, eye, ear, yes, but we omit the genitals. Okay, why is it that we don't teach the words vagina, vulva, and penis? Okay, have you thought about this before? Each household has a different nickname for those parts, right? In some houses, they call the vulva the chuchi or the chochi, right? And the penis is the pitulin, yeah? But they are not called like that. Those are nicknames. The anatomical name is vulva and penis, yes? And it is dangerous that we use nicknames. Okay, if we don't teach the anatomical terms, children might get confused because we are reinforcing the culture of secrets. Okay, we are telling them that it is a taboo, that it's not okay to mention those parts. Okay, and of course we are shutting down communication. If something happens to them, they will not come and tell us. Okay, and abusers, remember the figures, remember who the abusers are. Okay, they rely on this culture of secrets, yes, and silence for cover. Okay, so in this case, we can use these images, okay, that you can see on the screen, to teach our students about those names, and also to introduce the term private parts. Okay, private parts are those which are covered by our swimming suits. Okay, and they are off limits to others. Yes, our students need to understand that we cannot show our private parts. We cannot touch our private parts in public, and neither can others. And this part is also very important, okay? And we can practice yes or no questions with this, okay? We can, once we have presented the vocabulary, yes, we can ask our students, yes, if, for example, is the hair a private body part? Okay, is the mouth a private body part? What do you think? Is the mouth a private body part? Any idea?
Yes.
Yes, it is a private body part, okay? Even when the mouth is not covered by the swimming suit, yes, we need to make it clear that it is a private part and it is off limits to others, okay? This is very important. Well, apart from teaching the correct names, the anatomical names of all the body parts, okay, we can help understand our students that the difference between yes touches or okay touches and no touches or not okay touches. Yes, we can teach action verbs. Yes, those verbs, those actions we do to and with our body. Yes, that can be considered yes or no touches, such as shaking hands, holding hands, giving hugs, giving high fives, or giving pats, or kicking, hitting, pushing, or touching private parts. Okay, so you can have them distinguish one from the other. However, we cannot assume that the other person likes the same touches I do. For example, I like hugs, but maybe Pao doesn't like hugs. She prefers high fives. Okay, so we can take this opportunity to teach permission and consent. Yes, we have all taught can for permission, like, can I go to the toilet? Yes, instead of only teaching that, yes, we can also teach, can I give you a kiss? Can I give you a hug? Okay, can we shake hands? Yes, which are, as you can see, the same expressions we saw before. Okay, and we continue practicing yes, no questions here, and you can include other sorts of answers which are also short. Okay, instead of yes you can, no you can't, sure, I like that, or not now. Okay, Pao?
Yeah, I was reading the comments here, and I have been chatting a bit. Yes, we have to respect children when they say no. No is no in all cases, right? That's why the importance of working with consent, right? And remember the acts about affectivity that we described at the beginning of the presentation. All right, let's go on, and we're about to finish, right? It's important that children know that some secrets should not be kept, right? If they have experienced a no touch that they don't like, they must tell a trusted adult, but careful with the concept of trusted adults, right? Remember again, the official figures we shared before. This is a very simple activity that involves children in writing the names of the very few people they trust. Why very few? Because the hand has only 5 fingers, right? 1 person on each finger. The hand symbolizes how few trusted people are, right? If we come back to the figures again, it's important to tell children that one person at least should be outside the family, okay? And to finish our presentation, and also to finish a project, if you're working with projects, a good idea is to have children be involved in design and participate in a body safety campaign, right? They can make posters, share the posters that include everything they have been working with in terms of body safety, precisely, right? Posters can be outside the classroom, so this final outcome will have a social impact. That is very important, because in CSE, reflection is paramount, but we also need action. We need doing, right? So in the case of the ideas we have shared with you, right, some content, linguistic and non-linguistic content that children have been working with includes all this, right? Private parts of the body, yes and no touches, consent, permission, right? And trusted adults, right? So let's take every chance that we have to address these topics. At the beginning, we ask you why you think some teachers are afraid of teaching CSE. Well, some topics are not the easiest to be taught. We know that these topics are not precisely the easiest to deal with in class, but it's worth it. It's worth the effort. We are witnessing escalating violence in our schools and outside schools, right? As has been the case lately, right? And we teachers cannot turn a blind eye to this. We must do something. The worst mistake we can make as teachers is to think that somebody else will teach this content, that somebody else will deal with this. But at the end of the day, maybe nobody, right, teaches this. And as we said before, some topics are top priority. Gabi?
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing this time with us. Thank you, Juan Ignacio, for inviting us. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Okay, and if you have any questions, there's our email to contact us. Congratulations, happy anniversary, of course, and thank you all for being here with us today.
Thank you so very much, Paola and Gabriela. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I would only probably highlight the fact that these issues tend to become a little bit thorny, and we have to go past that feeling. There's no thorny issue when it comes to addressing and trying to work for children's rights, right? Children and adolescents' rights. But I think that it all makes so much more sense when we work collaboratively and when we work institutionally. But it's not just a single teacher's effort or someone who then the rest looks down upon because he or she seems to be touching those issues. It's so much better when we come together and when these policies are clear at an institutional level, so we can all understand what we have to do, because this is our responsibility as teachers. Right?
And knowing that we have documents, we have laws that back us up, right?
Absolutely.
And involving the families as well. Sometimes we are afraid of families, but many a time families don't know. The only information they have is through the media, right?
Absolutely.
So,
and if we can be as clear as possible as regards that, then more people jump on the bandwagon, and we are all working in harmony. It's not just about, doing things that others will probably tend to think is dangerous, or we are trying to put strange ideas into kids and adolescents. We are far from that. We have a responsibility as educators, and we are only guaranteeing in a way that children have access to, to information, as we said at the very beginning, information that will empower them, as you also highlighted, to become critical thinkers and to have a healthy lifestyle. And that is, quite a compromise for us teachers.
Exactly.
Violence-free.
And violence-free,
Exactly.
absolutely. And we have to question the course book also. This is in keeping with some of the ideas we shared yesterday as well, work on the course book and problematize materials. They're useful and they're wonderful. They come in handy, for the hectic life of the teacher, but they should be, put under the lens as you're proposing to do. So thank you very much. It's been very enlightening. And thank you to all the people who have been sharing comments, Josefina, and also Belen from YouTube, and everyone here on the Zoom, everyone who's been participating. We also know that Dario has been following girls, and he will be joining us on Thursday. So thank you, Dario, for
yes, you
joining.
can't miss it.
Of course.
We will be there as well.
And thank you to Instituto Superior de Formación Docente 129 for giving us a chance to have you as a special guests today. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much, and for all the material as well. Thank you everyone watching, and see you again tomorrow at 6 p.m. Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.